next segment, which is the Uranus opposition and what this experience is like around age 40.
Uranus around age 40. So this was chaotic for me. I mean, I'm a 34-20 on my personality side. So I went from breaking things into being contemplative. And that was hard for me. That's all I'll say about it for now. It's a big change point. This is a big change point. This is as big as Saturn. I don't know which one's bigger, depends.
Yeah, I don't know if it's like a comparison point. It's
Yeah,
almost
no
it
point.
almost feels like you're different like graduation points. Like you graduated from 8th grade and now you graduated from high school and now you graduated from college. Like they're
Right.
all really, really important and sure you're learning different things, but they're all equally necessary.
This is when you truly enter into your first phase of the education that when you turn 50, you're only gaining speed. The traction is coming because of these 10 years between your Uranus opposition and your Chiron return. This is where you're in big boy school, and then the good one, the one you wanted, by the way, unless you're kicking and screaming and not following your strategy and authority. Can't stress that enough.
I feel like the Uranus opposition is the foundation of like life begins at 40, like that kind of idea.
Totally. Well, the whole thing that we've pointed out so far shows us that the old way was a set Saturnian life cycle to 30, early 30s. The new way is almost 3 times that. That's why we live so much longer, literally. And that kids aren't adults at 18 anymore like they were in the 7-centered life. Sorry, parents, but your kids aren't adults until they're approaching 28. If we could retool everything, we wouldn't be kicking our kids out unless they took themselves out. It's up to them, But right, we wouldn't be setting this. It's 18, your birthday. Go get your social security number and get your job and whatever, all that stuff you're supposed to do. And suddenly, I remember I couldn't take it. At 18, I was like, what? I have to what? They're expecting what? I just couldn't take it.
Yeah, no, same. I was at home until I was like 32 or something like that.
30,
Yeah.
on and off.
Yeah, for sure. Let's dive in. So, Uranus, as its themes are unusualness, chaos, and order, as well as science and exploration. Uranus is your expression of uniqueness, and it's the evolutionary mutative undercurrent that transforms our understanding of the Maya. The discovery of Uranus in 1781 also extended our lifespan to about 84 years because that is the orbit of Uranus. And Uranus also introduced the tripartite life force of the subjective youth, objective midlife, and the transcendent older life experience.
It's so cool. Uranus was because by the time we spotted Uranus in the sky, think about it. The observation of Uranus and the planet in the sky and then its broadcasts throughout the world let us know that we're definitely not alone. I mean, there's more. There's so much more out there. And at that same, as soon as that bell got rung on planet Earth, the genome on planet Earth upped its game. It upped its game. So we were already living past the Saturnian life cycle. So if we take all of humanity, we recognize that in early humanity, a lot of people didn't even make it to 28 and 30. Like
most people wouldn't survive
20
childhood.
And 22 and most, so it was like wicked lopsided to definitely less than 28. And then a whole age of time came along. Our recorded history started to see times that would easily transcend that 30-year mark. And by the time we're approaching this Uranus return, we're already easily past 30, often. Still lots of death at birth, still lots of things happening in the teens and 20s where people would lose their lives or they would just die young or rotten teeth were still killing us. You know what I mean? All kinds of things. An infection could do you in. And then here, it's almost as if a little gift got thrown out, like 2 drops of water, and that 1 drop of water is sitting there. And once the other one touches it, the next thing you know, it pulls it in. As soon just that touch. And we saw Uranus, and that was the touch. And it pulled us forward a whole 40 to 50 more years of age that we could now live. It just pulled it just like that. And it didn't take many generations for it to start happening. It really didn't. And that wasn't sanitation. That was our genome. Sanitation played parts in search, but this happened across the world. Everywhere on planet Earth, mankind lived longer, period.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's like, even it like probably starts to overlap at that point where the
Yep.
things coincide and it's part of that like design. Yeah, it's neat because Saturn is the last planet, the furthest out planet that you can see with the naked eye. So
Mhm.
Uranus required the telescope, and that how the discovery of Uranus in 1781 also coincided with the origination, the starter point.
Yep.
That's when projectors got like thrown onto the scene, and the
Yep.
nature of the projector is kind of telescopic, of like we focus in on a
Wicked
point and we
telescopic.
see into people. So like these funny little things that like overlap are kind of fun.
This introduction of a tripart life force is totally new. This is what changed our genetic imperative from cooperation to communion. One day we'll just have to break down what communion means, because that word doesn't even do it justice, what that really means. But just take it for what it means, for the definition that it is, and recognize that this mutative evolutionary undercurrent is exactly evolutionary. We evolved. We just didn't grow another eye or gills or something. We just started living longer, and our genome picked up more awareness. The emotional solar plex came online. The projector, which focuses and penetrates us and focuses us all into a dang direction. You guys, come on now, give me a break. But I can't, you do it, you can't help it. And it's happening everywhere. We're splashed in a world of an evolved evolutionary process of the species known as mankind, humanity. And here we are suddenly living a lot longer, going through this awareness and intelligence, consciousness building process of subjectivity, objectivity, transcendence. I mean, those are big words. And here we are living it out over and over again. Understand your strategy and authority, and you'll be able to see it. You have to understand it and live it for a couple of years to really be able to start to see it. So, chop, chop, people, get on it,
Very cool.
right?
And just to clarify the that tripartite life force, so if you're familiar with the 6-line process, that's what we're referring to here. So that subjective youth, that's from ages, birth through about age 30. The objective midlife is ages 30 through 50, between that first Saturn return and then the Chiron return. And finally, the transcendent older is the third Saturn return around age 90.
It's so cool. And you get given a gift of a second Saturn return shortly after, within 10 years of that 50-year mark. The whole thing is designed to make us succeed.
Yeah, it's like you get like a check-in every 10 years. You get some kind of something coming in.
By the way, that check-in is accelerated. It's worth pointing out. The check-in is accelerated and during the first Saturn return, because there are no other real check-ins, except for it's broken down into quarters. Every 7 years, you've redone a cellular cycle. And so that becomes a check-in point. So every kid can go back. At 7, there was something. At 14, there was something else. At 21, holy cow. At 28, oh my dear God. So it's an advancing tide.
Beautiful.
Yep.
The Uranus opposition and the lunar node shift. So Uranus's orbit is 84 years to go the full 360 around the wheel. So the opposition refers to when Uranus is 180 degrees from where it was when you were born. And this happens approximately between ages 38 and 42. It's like a couple year process. And so you're in the south node phase from birth to age 40-ish, and then you go into the north node phase in 40 plus. And so the nodes provide the background environment in which you emerge. So you can think of your south node phase as your act 1 in life's great stage play. And then there's like the lunar nodes, your Uranus opposition is almost like an intermission point. And then you'll reemerge in the north node or the act 2 phase. And like if you've ever seen a play live, it kind of goes black and there's an intermission and like the crew comes out all dressed in black and like moves all the stuff around, and now you're in a new environment that you get to emerge into.
Absolutely. And just like Saturn, you have to recognize it's on both sides of your body graph. It's on your design and your personality side. You read them both, and both of theirs is movements. It's just that the personality has a total hiccup. They're the one that is read mostly, and they're the one that feels like the shift, like a hiccup, like it's like, oh my God, I moved from one to the other. But you do have to read them together to to really understand the movement of that shift. It's funny because the design side goes through its Uranus opposition first, but it
Oh,
can't
okay.
speak. Yeah, it can't speak. It's unconscious. It's waiting to show up out of a tunnel when it meets up with its personality side, that then once it goes through it, snap, that picture, just like I described on the Saturn opposition, it gets thrown to you. The picture, the sound, the smell that is so memorable, you just can't forget it. And it gets chucked at you as a not definition in your body graph. Again, you don't pick up any new gates, you don't pick up any new life force. You get thrown an object of a personality design only that becomes a holistic picture. Look at it all. It's going to flavor your trajectory moving forward.
So the nodal shift, and what is this like to experience? So the nodal shift is the intermission in your life's play, where the stages reset from Act 1 to Act 2. It's a pivotal transition in purpose, identity, and authenticity, and the opportunity to rewrite your life's script. You can experience some restlessness, questioning your career, relationships, identity, and asking, is this all there is? And this disruption can have unexpected changes that force realignment. And the liberation is in breaking free from outdated roles, which can feel exhilarating but scary.
Well, let's remember, Uranus is about unusualness, and your unusualness is your uniqueness, essentially. Um, it can be unusualness in any of the gates, don't get me wrong, but I'm just saying it is your uniqueness that's showing up. That's what's unusual. And your unusualness is a little bit of a freak, and it's a little bit different. So the whole thing can feel both exhilarating and scary because you really can't quite tell, but something is moving. Um, and then this reset from Act 1 to Act 2, it's wicked pivotal because it is an opportunity to rewrite life's script. I mean, it's a huge opportunity, and it's a profound one because your south node is totally different from your north node. You know, there's a gate shift right on the body graph without needing to have, if you never had a snapshot of your exact Uranus opposition date time, it wouldn't matter because you could see it on the chart. The Saturn return, you can't see it on the chart. You need to get a snapshot of your Saturn return date from your date of birth, move forward that amount of time to see the flavor added. But here it's in the chart. It moves from that south node up to the north node. And it also opens up all the other ways in which the nodes are read. It's incredible.
Here we have the experience of the Uranus opposition. Transiting Uranus activates the opposite gate, right? Because it's not going to be the 360 of the return, it's the 180 of the opposition. So where the transiting Uranus will be is going to be opposite from your natal Uranus. So this is creating dynamic tension that influences a shift from south node to north node. And the natal Uranus placement manifests during the Uranus opposition as both a point of tension and a catalyst for growth. And Uranus's energy is about breaking free from conditioning. And the opposition amplifies the natal Uranus's rebellious streak, pushing you to shed your south node patterns that no longer serve you.
This whole shedding the patterns, you retain them, by the way. You retain them as both a muscle and a real memory. They are maintained in your muscle memory, and they are retained in your awareness. It's just you refine it. It refines with what is coming now in the north node, and it helps to move your trajectory in life. So as you approach this time in your life, you will notice a great maturing, because that's what the finesse and the refinement is for. It's there to signal you through your genome that you hopefully can get in touch with through your strategy and authority because you practice it. And as that happens, suddenly you see, I am refining, and it is scary. Am I going to be any good? I mean, what more than two-thirds of us are, well, two-thirds of us are open ego. So we're always, am I going to be any good at it? You know, that's one of the questions. 70 something percent of us are open head. Oh my God, there's so much to think about. You know what I mean? So much can seem scary and slightly exhilarating and totally exhilarating. And then suddenly the rebellion is you stop being exactly what you were. This is that spot where people can point, you've changed. Yeah, so what? You're going to change too.
That's life.
Yep, that's life, baby.
Here we do have Danny's chart. So you can see up top here in the green circle, we can have the south node, the downward facing horseshoe is the south node, and the upward facing horseshoe is the north node. And so we have it circled here on both the design and the personality sides of Danny's chart. And then at the bottom, we have Uranus and Uranus's little glyphs. And down here in the purple oval, you can see his natal Uranus on the design and the body.
I'll get a snapshot at the Uranus opposition. What definition is going to help light my way? In a sense, again, not the addition of definition, but just what I got struck with. Again, look at it like ringing a bell. I got struck with that. However, I mean, it's pretty obvious. So 34.5 says annihilation. 34 is the bully. You know what I mean? That just indiscriminate use of power for the sake of the power, but it can't be any good until it's for the highest good all the way around. And so I had to learn that process, that annihilation is the complete removal of resistance through the use of your power. The power is sacral, so it sustains, to drag down what was before and reinstall something new without necessarily destroying what was before. So it's the complete and total removal of resistance. And then 9.2 was misery loves company, the gate of focus. It loves to harmonize. Harmony is the creative way of the individual. And this is a collective gate that would want to harmonize its creative focus with others. And so I was constantly doing that. And then when I moved into 20, line 5, contemplation, and 16, line 2, the cynic, the power to burst bubbles or not, with that enthusiasm that is going to identify a solution and identify the next cool trend and identify the thing, my contemplations became on what should I do. And I remember a long phase. It helped me get divorced a second time because my wife was, how come you're always actualing me? And I was approaching this time in my life. I wasn't there yet. I was approaching it and I was already doing it. You know, to say, well, actually, in front of a sentence is to burst a bubble of a thing. And it was obnoxious. And I didn't leave my old way, so I would do it with power. And suddenly I would realize I didn't want to do that. You know what I mean? I just want the company. And I would contemplate. That's what 20 does. And it was very confusing for me. I remember foreshadowing, oh, dear Lord, you'll be divorced soon. And sure enough, she left me. I don't blame her. I mean, it's not my fault. She could have not taken that personally, is what could have actually been done. That's what should have been done. And then I would have learned from that. I actually don't have to do that all the time. I learned. I almost never say, well, actually, but I want to. So this trajectory anyways, in my life, I went from the indiscriminate use of power, not indiscriminate, but just this constant having to annihilate things, into a more still contemplative right now. And it showed. It showed. My loan officering, by the time I hit 42 and 43, stopped being so feverish, you know, in the job I had gotten myself, and turned into a more contemplative thing. And I contemplated myself right out of that job, ultimately. That was my movement. I couldn't help that. People thought I was rambunctious when I was young. It was a perfect description. And then when I look at the opposition, 47.3 and 6, they're in harmony to each other, and 64.4, this is a definition. How lucky am I? It creates a life force. To me, I find this incredibly lucky to have this totally in harmony with my motivation, and in harmony and resonance with itself. So it became my understanding of what confusion would do in my life as it relates to how I realize things. I started to realize that I realize things. That's going to be my job. And lo and behold, I made it my job. I mean, here we are, Moni. Oh, that's what I do. I just realized that this goes with that. You know, it's like I knew it, but wanted to say it out loud is to finish the process of further realizing new things. And that's what I do. I learned to tame the confusion. This confusion, it'll just be called right out of you to recognize, oh, confusion. Yeah, that's not a problem. That's a process. Confusion helps me. Even if I don't have that full life force, it doesn't matter. It's a flavor that isn't real until you realize something. I mean, it feels real if you have it in an open center, but if it's in a divine center, you just recognize, oh, that's a pressure that's natural for me. And mine's in a defined center. Doubt and confusion are constantly going to be part of my process.
I think that's
So it doesn't
really,
make you stupid, buddy. It doesn't make you stupid. It doesn't make you dumb about something. It means there's incredible awareness being pressured into existence, and it is for you. You just don't have to know what it is until you suddenly realize. Please wait.
here we have our conclusion about the Uranus opposition. This is your cosmic intermission, the transformative shift from south nodes past to north nodes calling, and the lunar nodes shift your environment, reshaping the settings and relationships around you, urging you to let go of old backdrops, stepping into new scenes aligned with your soul's direction. This is no mere midlife crisis, it's a reset, a chance to break free from old patterns and step boldly into Act Two of your life's play. Embrace the unexpected, rewrite your script, and shine as your authentic self. What will your Act Two reveal?
Hopefully, it reveals that this dang term about midlife crisis can finally get retired. It's called midlife growth. It's not crisis, it's growth. It can be nothing other than it's ordained inside of our genome, for God's sakes. And our genome is perfect, especially compared to whatever we can dream up in our conscious minds. The whole process of moving through this opposition is there to bring you growth, and it's there to bring the rest of the way in which you read the nodes. Because now all of that is flowering in your college years of life, moving on to where you're suddenly going to become consequential, truly consequential as you move into this 50-year-old thing. You pick up speed. People say, oh, it's all downhill after 50 or 60. And I say, well, downhill sounds cool to me. It means I'm picking up speed. You know, yeah, I don't know why
It's
they
easier on
turned
my
that into,
point.
yeah, it doesn't, I don't know why they turned that into the bad thing. To me, marshaling uphill carrying water is the hard part. You know, I mean, I don't want to stay there too long. It's, you pick up speed down here. I don't know, Moni, can you run back to my body graph so I can show these wicked cool ways in which you can now read this where it'll make sense to you, because now it's happening. At this point in time, it's in full swing. It's happening. My gate 9, line 2, is read with my gate 20, line 5. This becomes a storyline in my life, an absolute storyline that runs a consistent genetic thread of movement through my life. Gate 34, line 5 of my personality becomes this cognitive development only when I can look back and see what 15 9's movement into 16 was. So 34.5 reads to 16, just to 16. That becomes a cognitive development read that way, 34 to 16. And then you can read them across, which we already talked about, 9.2 and 34.5, moving up to 16.2 and 25. That becomes a story. And then it also reads into, by the time you're reaching this point, into the cross of life, which is so important, where we don't read the cross, your incarnation cross, which for me would be the vessel of love. You read it as a weird, it doesn't look like a cross necessarily on the wheel anymore. It's just, we call it the cross of life because it's your personality, sun, earth, and your personality nodes. And we read them together along with the moons for sure to show the focus and the drive. And shazam, you got all these different ways to read this and read it as a totality, all four together, to show a total trajectory that you keynote all at once to be like, yeah, that's you. And you can't understand totally that's you until you're reaching this time. And by the time you're 50, you totally can understand, oh my God, I guess that is me. And then you start to realize, wow, this human design information, that's when you read your nodes, all four of them, and keynote them all together, and you understand it. That's when you start to recognize, wow, the information in the human design body graph is genetic, and it's deeply tied to what is going to move us. No matter how vague and faint it seems at first, it always clarifies as an empirical matter. You empirically recognize, and everyone else can too, that, oh my God, it does come into view and focus that my life has moved this way. And it comes into focus that if my life doesn't move this way, I'm suffering for that. And it starts to come into focus as I follow my strategy and authority religiously. It becomes second nature. I don't try anymore. And I start getting the life I'm supposed to have. And none of that has anything to do other than with moving towards more beauty for yourself and communion with others in a surer sense of yourself as you walk through your own life. You no longer walk as timidly as you start to take this stuff in.
That's really great.
I feel pretty good.
Wonderful. Yeah. And we'll totally do a future episode on both the cross of life and how to look at that, as well as that whole nodal dance,
We
crossy
should put those
diagram.
together. I think we can do that all together.
That's what I was thinking. That will be its own little episode. I already have some bare bones of a presentation started, so we will get to that when we get to that, but it's all coming.